Okay, so today I'm going to start episode 1 of my gimmick decks as a mage. So last time we concluded the ones with the paladin, which were a little bit underwhelming. I did enjoy the sort of light forge Galvadon, where I combine just Galvadon as a fun mechanic, period, but then also with all the paladin cards that say if your deck has no neutral cards, you get some sort of bonus for them. So those two mechanics are sort of unrelated, but it's just sort of a fun way to try to mix it up and add multiple gimmicks together. And then the other deck kind of broke my gimmick rule that it's like none of these portraits even interest me, even if I was willing to buy them. Sometimes I'll buy those stupid 3D ones that are, you know, for certain classes like the Thirst Trap Nerzul or something. All these stupid nicknames I have. Clownface Arthas, the fucking Arthas. Clownface Arthas, where he's like a fucking whatever. He's smiling like a clown. Baron Razor, yeah, we've seen all this shit. But yeah, my point is that we're in a position where basically, what do you call it? Oh yeah, the other deck I didn't really like too much, so we did, instead of the 4 horsemen, it's the 8 horsemen. So we had the Rivendare War Rider, which I had never used before, and then I had the, obviously the regular 4 horsemen. So the notable thing about that is I did that deck basically for both of the months that I played the Paladin deck. Either that was the main thing I was doing, or in rotation with the other deck. Like I would, you know, play until I lose with one, then play with the other, etc. But the problem is that it ended up being where that I didn't win a single game with Rivendare War Rider. Now you could say, well, it's not a Paladin card, right? But even if it's not a Paladin card, you would still think you would have gotten it once, just at this low rank kind of shitty matchup. But no, it was the 8 horsemen because you're trying to win with both of them at the same time somehow, or whatever. You have the option of both, even though there's no real synergy between them. It'd be kind of cool if it did work like that, though. If 3 of the horsemen die, like some of the other ones from Uther's effect, right? The Uther hero, then it would count. Like if this one dies and the other ones have died from the other one, right? Somehow that would be cool. But you'd obviously have to build around it in a different way. And it's just a case of that was so stupid that we didn't get to win with that a single time. And the other dumb thing about that deck is the simple fact that we had, it's the simple fact that, what do you call it? Like it goes against the gimmick deck philosophy that you can't call it a gimmick deck if it has a built-in win condition like Mech-C'Thun or something like that, Rin, the Dark Disciple, etc. So when you're using the 4 horsemen, it's not a gimmick deck anymore. That's as antithetically opposed to a gimmick deck as possible, where a gimmick deck will have like a core sort of mechanic or philosophy you're trying to do that could lead to you winning, but it's not going to be a guaranteed victory condition like that, right? Like Exodia or something. That's not a gimmick. That's just a straight up win condition. Whether it's meta at the current time or not is not the point, right? That still goes against the principle of it. So today, I'm normally the first episode of this new class, like we've been going through every single class and doing my favorite gimmick deck of the past, or just some interesting gimmick deck in general. Like for Paladin, I didn't really have one. I never really played Paladin much, so I had to kind of just scrap together whatever I was thinking of on the spot, and that was the best I could come up with. But with Mage, this one is very close to the heart because this one goes way back, and it's one that, like, normally today I would like build a deck, but I won't even bother. I'll build it very briefly to sort of show you the OG original gimmick decks that I would do. And so the Druid one we already did here, right? Where we got to basically do something similar to this one, the whole anti-spell vibe. But what I'll show you first is the original one that I did, if I can remember it well enough, where it was before Galakrond even came out, which means it was an elusive anti-spell deck without even very many elusive minions in the game. So I was really extrapolating and trying to build into that as much as possible, right? That's number one. Then I'll show you the one that I would use probably now with other things like Lor'themar, etc. in there. So the mage one was all about countering spells, like obviously it's going to have counter spell in there and stuff like that, whereas the druid one was all about AoE buffs. So like you summon a bunch of elusive stuff, right, at that point, and then you buff it with whatever, Pride of the Wild and all these AoE buffs that druids did have, right? So these were two of my favorite gimmick decks to do because I like this whole anti-spell, you know, cucking your opponent aspect. But there's probably a whole bunch of newer cards that'll factor into that too. And then the other thing I wanted to do was the Yogg-Saron, some sort of roulette wheel of nonsense, just like spam spells and use the deck of cards and use both versions of Yogg and all that kind of stuff. But let's see what we would just do normally, though. We would definitely do double counterspell is one thing, right? That would be an absolute must. Then we would have like Spellbender as well, which surprisingly we don't have that. How can that be? I don't really want to worry too much about cards that I don't recognize, but I haven't really played Mage in a long time. But you have to remember, like, the timing. Yeah, Spell. That's really going to do it for you. Spellbender here. Wait, what the fuck? I mean, I don't have very much dust to work with, unfortunately, but that's definitely a core component. You would want Trogzor in here and stuff. So you'll see the sort of creative extrapolation I would have had to do with it, because, again, at this time, the reason why I keep mentioning Galakrond is because that's where most of the elusive minions in the game come from, right? You know, the Draconid and all this kind of stuff. So before that, and there really haven't been that many since then. Before that, there were very few of them. So you would do stuff like this to play into the same vibe, even if there really weren't that many. So this one's really old school. Then even the one that I do, I'll do this one that I had done originally, then I'll do one that's a little better on instinct of what we have now, and then I could do another one where I actually look through some of the newer stuff and see what, if anything, really fits in here. But my whole thing is that, yeah, see, there really aren't even enough cards in there. So what else would we have here? Let me guess. I'm not even going to have fucking some of these cards ready. Are you serious? Yeah, I don't even have them, so what the fuck? So there's like a cool interaction with this. Like if the Spellbender gets triggered, it'll summon the thing and this will still stay alive at the same time. For some reason I thought that worked with Counterspell too, but I guess it doesn't, because I've used it since and I've seen that it didn't happen. How the fuck did that? Whatever. So I wouldn't actually use this one because I didn't feel like that was substantial enough. Rush, deal 4 damage to your hero. Picture looks so fucking weird. What kind of art style is that? This you would use too, you know, you're sort of punishing them for using spells. And then you would use things like Loatheb, obviously. You would use the Nerubian Unraveler, which this card was not very popular at all. Like, nobody ever really used that. Right, it's just a weird card, and it even hurts yourself. Or I would play into that in a weird way, like with Alana, the Dragon Keeper, which I don't think I even have her, do I? We're like, oh, now I'll use a spell that would normally cost less than 5, but now it costs more than 5 because of my own effect from this, and then I would get a better count for Alana or whatever. But I'm trying to think, what else are we missing here? It's not that every single card in the deck had to do with countering spells, but that was pretty much the emphasis of it. Yeah, today I'll basically skip the exhaustive deck building. This will just be very basic. We would need Sogoth. I guess I always underestimate. See, that wouldn't have been in the game. This would be in the game. This would be in the game. We certainly are going to need 2 of them if we're going to. Spectral Knight would be in the game. And that's pretty much it, right? This shows you how much I like this mechanic, that even though there aren't that many of these in the game even now, right, there certainly aren't. I guess this would kind of work, even though I don't like it really. Because it's not purely elusive, but we would need those 2, and then... after you elusive, wait, I don't even know what this is. After you cast a spell, cast one that costs 1 more. Adjacent minions have elusive, which I don't even like that because it's too easy to get rid of. This card would be a must in there too. Man, I thought I had all this shit. I'm so confused. Yeah, I thought I remember even using that. So yeah, all these are newer Galakrond or beyond. So even in the whole history of the game, look how I got cucked on my favorite mechanic, where it never even had a keyword, where it had the super long verbose, can't be targeted by spells or hero power, is actually what it was officially called until, like, literally this year, I think, the beginning of this year. But beyond that, this is how many you had to work with. So you had 1, 2, 3, that's it. And then Sogoth would be the only other one that you could potentially make, right? Your minions have elusive. I never really used any of those other ones anyway, because... But yeah, you could fit some of those other ones in here. But now, what do we fill in with the other 15? And I really don't know. Sogoth would be one. The other Trog would be one. Right? I can't quite figure it out. Huh, I really don't remember. Didn't I have one that was sort of an outlier to show an example? I'm so confused. Nerubian Unraveler, that, Lothab. What the fuck? What else could there have been? I could easily fill it with newer stuff, but I'm just not sure what it was. I don't have the Dragon Keeper Alana either. This is kind of fucked. I didn't realize I'd be this short on resources and everything. This is what happens when you go from one gimmick deck to another and just, you know, disenchant stuff with Reckless Abandon. Disenchant that. I'm not going to be able to really craft much of anything, so I better just decide. So maybe I won't show you really the old one. I'll just have to hodgepodge together. But this is basically the essence of it, right? Somehow you'd fill in the other 15 cards. You'd have a couple AoEs like Frostbolt times 2, or I mean Blizzard times 2, Flamestrike times 2. You'd have Alana, you'd have Sogoth, you'd have the Trog, right? That would be 3 more. I think I had that guy that gives you the armor too. So let's just do this with the elusive minions, period. And of course, again, this is arguably like my favorite mechanic in the game. So in the history of the game, totally not just an edgy thing, because like it's like, oh haha, you get to I'm not even gonna have any spells here, period. Like, oh, I like the mechanic that doesn't even properly have a fucking name. So if we were to craft stuff on my wish list here, we would want this one for sure. We would want one more of those. We would want I don't care about the hero being elusive, really. We could maybe want that, so that's at least 3 things, 4 things. The Trog, maybe Alana, those would be the ones that come to mind. And if you do that, you would obviously have, you know, the 30 count here. In fact, we almost have it anyway. I almost want to avoid... Oh, I forgot about that. How could I? Like, I don't want to have too many spells and stuff either. But it's just a case where, you know, let's try to avoid it. We'll be anti-spell not just for my opponent, but for myself too. Even though Counterspell and Spellbender totally count for that. Like... I guess I could disenchant some things just for, right, this would be enough to basically, we got a whole bunch of gold cards just now, but I don't know what else there were. Okay, this you can't uncraft. Gorgon Zormu. Get a 2-cost cheese that summons 3 1-cost minions and upgrades each turn. 2-cost cheese. What the fuck kind of random shit have they put into this game? Alright, disenchant that. You just need up to 100, and the reason why is because you very well want to, fuck. You very well want another copy of that same thing I just made, which is a legitimate elusive thing. This is the anti-fun card, because it counters all my super fun decks that I always go for. So, yeah, it's been a long time since I played this one, but this is one of the really old school ones that was super fun to play. Again, even at a time where you can understand how now, oh, it could be fun to use every elusive minion, even though not really, because it's still not going to be very good. But yeah, I can't escape my chest addiction anywhere. And then next we're going to what? Get a random golem and golden pirate and elemental from other classes. I mean, I could make some pretty fun rogue ones too. Right, so this is one of the last classes that we have to go through. The only ones we have left are Rogue, Death Knight, and Demon Hunter. And Death Knight and Demon Hunter I almost consider in a different category because they were sort of the newer classes. So I don't know what exactly we're going to do with that. Like, we might actually do something meta with those instead of a gimmick deck, since I haven't really hardly played them at all, period. At least these other classes I played in some capacity. You create that, so we need like maybe 2 more cards, and I want to avoid using spells at all costs if I can, but right, because you're just being so principled with it. The first spell you cast each turn costs 2 less. I probably just had some random other stuff to fit in there, like, you know, some AoE, some removal, which would seem justified, but recast each spell you've cast doesn't really matter to me too much. But no, there really aren't that many elusive minions in the game still. But you think about the amount of work you would have had to go through at that point is kind of my whole thing, right? At that point, you would have had to squeeze the water from the stone with these. Like, you would only have Fairy Dragon, Arcane Nullifier, and Spectral Knight, right? That would be it. Then you would have to have Sogoth, And then you would have to have, again, the Trogzor, even though it's not elusive, it plays into the anti-spell thing. You would have Lotheb, you would have Nerubian Unraveler, you'd have things like that. So the point being that you don't really have the full mechanic at that point. Now we're sort of spoiled because we have a lot more stuff, although I'm still struggling to fill this out, but I don't know, there's something minimalistic about that. You don't have the ability to actually make the deck, but you still want to do it anyway, so you make a gimmick take on a life of its own. Like, none of this shit would have even been in the game at that point. Right, so Spellbender and Counterspell are the whole backbone of this one, just to show, like, why are we doing this as a mage instead of anybody else? And that would have been the reason why. Because on top of simply, you know, you're playing one elusive minion after another, so every minion you play is going to punish them somehow. Oh, the one turn I don't play an elusive minion, I'm going to make your spells cost more, you know, with those two. Or the next turn that the one turn that I actually play a spell, the only spells that I have are going to also punish you for casting a spell. So what you're doing is you're sort of hard committing to something and then rubbing it in your opponent's face. Like, oh, thank God, he finally didn't play an elusive minion one turn. What a big break. And then, oh, it turns out he played counterspell, so I'm fucked. Or, oh, hooray, there's finally a minion I can target with my spell, and it's Trogzor. But, oh no, you get spellbended, and then he summons the 3/5 Trog. Like, it gives them like false hope. You're cucking them on being able to play spells the whole game, and then the one time you give them a chance to, it fucks you over, right? Like, I don't know what I really want beyond this, though. I just need like one more, three more things. I really don't want to just have some banal little shit. Like, you could just have like good value cards, period. Like, or yeah, Lorthamar kind of goes hand in hand with this. That's where kind of the value is made a mockery out of. I'm sure there's better cards that mages have now that counter spells, maybe. But what you don't have is the ability to appreciate what happened with Druid, because draw spells, yeah, I don't have enough spells to even do that. Fill your hand with random spells. After this, use an ability, cast 2 random spells. I don't know what I'm really even looking for. Whoops. But no, my whole thing is with the Druid one, it really puts it to shame, because I'll show you the buff cards in a second. That's one of the ones I did as my Druid gimmick deck at the beginning of this year, right? I can't remember exactly when, but that was one of the first ones I did this year. And so it was like, oh, you got to use Pride of the Wild and this and that and all these high cost, expensive, inefficient cards to do AoE buffs, because it's like rubbing it in your opponent's face, like, oh, I'm going to summon all these evasive minions, elusive minions that you can't target, but I can't target them either, but now I'm going to buff them anyway to make them even harder to get rid of, and you still can't target them, so it puts it out of range of AoEs and stuff. So like, it's such a, I don't know. And actually, this was the deck I was playing. I sometimes mention that with the Jody Arias. I was watching the Jody Arias trial and reacting to it on stream, at times at least, some parts of it, and I was sort of analyzing it, and I was playing this deck at the time. So this was like it wasn't like the trial was current at the time, but it was like probably 26. I don't remember, actually. I mean, when was the earliest you could really do it? I know it was like before Frostlace Jaina came out, and then I added her into here, and that was kind of like the one defensive thing that I did. So I kind of made fun of that, like, oh, that's my one form of defense. Like, people were saying, oh, you need more defensive cards because you keep dying too easily, right? Because if they can deal with the minions or just ignore them, they'll just keep going face and finish me off. And I didn't have any defensive capability. But then I'm like, oh, I'll just add Frostlace Jaina, and she'll provide the 5 armor and the lifesteal effect from the elemental, so that'll be good enough, which it really wasn't, but whatever, it was still fine. We need 2 cards to fill in here, and I really can't fucking decide. It doesn't have to be something even related to the deck. Like, I can just do whatever I want. Fuck, how can it be so hard to figure out? I really wish I remembered what was in here from before. I feel like I have most of it, though. If this costs less than every minion in your deck, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, even though I would say, oh, I don't like to, you know, I'm trying not to have any spells, it goes against the whole point that obviously you have to have counterspell and Spellbender, but beyond that, I'm fine with it. There's also the one that like copies your opponent's spell, but like let me see what other secrets we have in here. What? Oh, I misspelled it. Let's see. There's got to be something else that is pertinent to this. After you play a secret, the first secret you play, blah blah blah. Just something that would have to do with. Oh yeah, I think I had duplicate in here too. Oh yeah, that was fun. Like, fuck, I wish I had more dust. The reason why is, again, oh no, they finally kill one of my elusive minions. Whatever am I gonna do now? I'm gonna run out of them, and then you get it back again, whether it be Sogoth or, and you could do it in a very deliberate way too. It's like, I would have something out there, then I would play this and trade in what I have, and then play the next thing. So like, it was a very slow-paced kind of deck. Obviously, very inefficient. Very, after your opponent plays a minion, don't care about that. Mana bind, but it doesn't. Add a copy to your... It doesn't stop them from actually doing it is the problem. Opponent casts a spell. When a friendly minion is attacked, don't really care about that. When your opponent plays a minion... Yeah, like counter a minion instead of counter spell. Same fucking thing. If you didn't take damage, draw 3 cards. Oh yeah, even this. I think I had both of these in there. It's kind of surprising. When one of your minions is attacked... Yeah, see, this is like totally rubbing it in their fucking face. Although this maybe came out later. I forget when Rasticon's Rumble came out, but like... Oh no, they attack Sogoth the Slitherer. Like, think about what you're doing with this. It's such a psychological thing. They have no choice but to attack into Sogoth because they can't destroy it with an AoE because he has too much health, and they can't destroy it with a card from their hand because he's immune to spells. So, oh, they have no choice but to attack in. And then when they do attack in, you rub it in their face like, oh, haha, you should have played around this. You should have played around Splitting Image because now... Of course. Oh, haha, you fell into my trap that you couldn't possibly avoid because you had no choice but to attack in. So now I get another Sogoth for the price of one, right? Because you're forcing their hand to do that. When your turn starts, I'm going to copy... Actually, that could be pretty relevant in a similar way. After enemy minion attacks your hero, summon a copy of it to attack the enemy hero. Okay, so what we need is... Let me see if there's something I can disenchant, but I'm a little confused as to why... My dust situation is so fucking bad. I wasted too much on that druid deck, maybe. Right, we would need like 400 plus. I don't need these fucking Death Knight ones. I would be happy to get rid of them. I guess there's no use having that on then. It's not really telling me anything. The only class I care about here is druid. Right, so I wouldn't necessarily want to disenchant these. Draw a minion, but I don't think I would even use... Like, that's the only one that would be relevant here. Tyrantus. I don't know why I even have this. Draw a minion, reduces cost by 8. Whatever, I'll keep it, though, out of respect. I'm guessing most of these we really can't disenchant. Why the fuck wouldn't you just let me disenchant some of these? And what's annoying about... Oh, I guess I played... You know, I guess I will do that. Because I'm not going to play as priest, like, ever again in the whole... future of the fucking game, so why do I care? But no, that was when I started this whole thing, and that started as the underplayed class round robin, and then segued into, why do I even have this? It started off as the underplayed class round robin, which was priest and rogue, but then rogue vanished right out of that because I forgot about it. But then it segued from that into the gimmick decks where I went through, you know, Renounced Darkness, Explore Goro, Zinazari, kind of stuff that I like on Warrior and Warlock. Hall of Thunder, okay, that's fine. Well, that's a satisfactory amount of dust, so we'll have to work towards some of this shit, though, unfortunately, because, I don't know, I just had a lot less than I guess I thought, so... We would do the secrets here. I can't believe I'm going to waste 400 on Splitting Image, rather, instead of, so what was it? What was the other one? It was like, is it Frozen Clone? No, it's Duplicate. When a friendly minion dies, put another copy in your hand. So regardless which one you get, whether it be Loatheb or something, it's going to be something to do with cucking your opponent's ability to cast spells, of course. And so... There was some other dynamic to it too, like, I can't remember exactly. It was a dynamic where you're basically saying to yourself that We have Lorthamar, so let me try to put what I'm missing in here. Sogoth is there, right? Number one. The Trog is there. The what else? Maybe Alana, even though that has nothing to do. In fact, there's no point because I don't even have the other spells in there. I would just happen to have Alana. I would happen to have Frostlight Jaina. Some of those things were in there just to fill the space because, again, you didn't have this many options. I guess just other elusive stuff that I don't have here, right, would be relevant too. I feel like there was another secret card that I saw, but maybe not. There's no need to really worry about that too much. So we have... What other elusive things are we looking at? You can make... Oh, I can even make these right now. Fuck it. So you have Arcane Defenders, and you, of course, don't really need 2 copies of each of these. I pretty much have everything I need then. Sogoth, the Trog, the Shimmering, whatever that is, Shimmering shit. And then, what is all this here? I guess we pretty much did what I wanted. So we'll just have to remember. See, that shows you how few there actually are. Let me just show the hilarity of the Druid one. I guess I could almost have done both of these as a companion thing. Like, do the Druid and the Mage gimmick one together because they're basically the same thing. And it's weird, but you would realize that that's the only reason why I did it as these two. Counterspell and Spellbender is really the Mage element with this. And then with Druid, it's the fact that you have Tyrantus, which was such a cool one, at 10 mana, 12/12 with elusive, but also the AoE buffs that, again, kind of rub the point home that, oh, look, I can target my minions, but you can't target them. Like, I don't know, the way that you have... Maybe I don't even want... No, but you gotta have 2 of these because that's the whole fun of it. So you just want to see that feeling of powerlessness that your opponent has. Like, yay, I finally have a minion I can target with a spell. And I had to wait a whole turn to do it because Lothab cucked me. Right? So you finally play a minion that's not elusive. And then they've been saving their fireball or their spell the whole game for this one moment. And then it gets spellbended or it gets countered or it gets whatever, duplicated. Right? Just that feeling of powerlessness that they have is going to piss them the fuck off. You have to get rid of 2 cards, which I have no idea what I want those to be. I couldn't even tell you. But no, Spectral Knight actually holds up pretty well with his value. It's really not bad. 5 mana, 4/6, elusive, like, for such an old card, right? It's really not bad. You definitely want to keep the low cost ones here. After you cast a spell, cast a random spell that costs 1 more. I don't even know if I want that effect, but... I guess I could do the highest cost ones just in case I felt like... I don't know, like this is a pretty good value card though, all things considered. 2 5/6s. But basically that's what a lot of power creep does, is it takes something like this that you would have had to work so hard for. Now it makes it so easy and sort of inevitable, right, that it sort of makes a mockery out of it. I don't know why I almost feel like getting rid of the... I don't feel like you really need 2 of these, because it is one of those, maybe the ones that aren't elusive should be sort of banished from this a little bit, right? But that's such a signature effect of this, right, that I'm willing to go so far above and beyond. This card kind of represents the whole point. Like, it's not enough to just do the gimmick on a light level. Oh, I'll have a couple elusive minions, I'll have Lothab, I'll have Counterspell, but no, this is like you're hard committing. Like, every single thing that had to do with this idea was in there. So everything is elusive, doubled up, right? There's nothing that I'm missing besides like Sogoth, right? That's actually relevant. That Shimmering Corsair shit I don't even care about. I don't actually know what to get rid of though. I couldn't tell you. Divine Shield, elusive, double stats. That thing's good. Fuck, I can't decide. This is so perfect, but I don't know what else to get rid of. I could just get rid of that overall, but it just feels sort of fitting that you would have it in there. Maybe he's lonely without his Trogzor buddy, but... look, I don't want to get rid of anything with elusive. I don't want to get rid of that. I don't want to get rid of stuff that I only have 1 copy of, so what the fuck? I should get rid of 1 copy of something that I have 2 copies of, but I don't know what it is. I think it's very unlikely that I'll use both of those, so that's fine. But the point isn't to use both, it's just to increase the likelihood that you actually get it. I was doing actually some weird meta type stuff on here, but this was exactly where the run started. Yeah, that's exhaustive enough of crafting stuff, making stuff for now. But again, we'll try to work towards completing this deck, even with those other ones that I'm missing. But also we'll work towards doing some sort of Yogg, roulette, crazy shit. Which maybe I'm thinking I should save that for Rogue next anyway, but if I make it, I could just do it in the same vein, so... I always have to do this, but then I never save up enough dust because I never play long enough, right? It's just like... It's a very one-off sort of experience. I just play for like an hour a week, so what do you expect?
My music will wash over you.
Behold the magic of death.
I don't really like his voice, this Khadgar. This version of him, at least. Bro is like a bootleg Medivh. He thinks he's so cool, but... Okay, so we got a 2 and a 3 and a 4. I mean, everything is pretty straightforward. It'll play itself. But it just shows you sort of the value and the power creep of some of these. Oh, I wanted to show you like sort of the druid nonsense. Not that I'm going to play as it, but just to show the shitty value of some of these cards. Yeah, look at their shock and chagrin at the way that they're going to be completely helpless to deal with anything that I do, except they have plenty of AoEs, and they'll probably have plenty of ways to deal with stuff now by today's standards, but the point is you should always have board control, but you won't because the value is not going to be good enough, but in theory you should because... You know, in theory you should because they're so hard to get rid of, so they have to fight on the board. My dream come true in a card game where you actually have to fight like a man on the board instead of subverting it with all this kind of AoE and bullshit. Your first spell, each turn costs 2 less. Secret, don't really care. I could ping that, but I don't really want to. Some of this curve isn't the greatest. That wasn't exactly what I expected to happen, actually. I kind of did my math wrong, but whatever, it's fine. Yeah, Lor'themar, in a way, ruins these. That's how the card back should always be displayed, so you can actually fucking see it at that angle. They said, oh, they couldn't change the angle of this, but they just showed me fucking there. That's how it should be. The point is that Lor'themar makes it way too easy to kind of, now that suddenly becomes good, even though, you know, this is going to be perfect because you have, even if you copy it, I don't really give a shit because, oh no, now you were planning to do Blizzard, but now you can't because you're fucked, right? Like you're cucking everything. Well, but that costs you too much. This is probably just a bot that I'm playing against anyway, that I'm talking so much shit, but even the bot I will make feel utterly powerless before my cuckery here. My expression in card games. Making your opponent feel powerless is more important than winning or losing. Surely they couldn't possibly come back and win. But again, even having to deal with the Nerubian and Unraveler, like everything is untargetable, and the one thing that is targetable is still cucking your spell ability over, so... This is like an absolutist tendency that I talk about in my debate format. Like, when you commit fully to something, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad or whatever subjective standard. When you commit to doing something, do it all the way or not at all. Don't give me this halfway kind of bullshit where, you know... You do gain more armor, though, based on that. Right, should have gotten them lower, I guess. Use a spellbender, I guess. Summon 2/3/3 birds. Wait, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is that? Oh, it was the effect of that. Okay. Angry birds. Good one. Haha. For fuck's sake, man. Ah, yes, of course. I should play around that when I'm playing against a mage. 10th anniversary, okay. I mean, Lotheb should pretty much put the clamp down here where you would think it'd be very, very difficult for you to deal with this board, where I'd almost give you... I'd be happy to lose if you could deal with it. I guess you could like Frost Nova or something, because that won't cost too much. Maybe it'll cost 8, but I'm just saying, like, that would be at least a play you could make. Yeah, you would see like the amount of rigor I would go through. Oh, I got to use all these AoE buffs and put so much effort into it. And it's like, oh, now just play Lorthamar, lol, and he'll double. Oh no, no fucking Time Warp PTSD. But they even changed that. I love how everything I complain about, like, oh, maybe this shouldn't work for time.
Sound.
You are
Next time will be different.
Like, I need... that shouldn't work with Time Warp. I said that for a while, and they finally did it. But it's like, oh, at the time people were saying, oh, just get good, just use Dirty Rat, just play around it, just anti-meta game shit. Like, yes, you can do that, but you shouldn't have to do it. Even this one, I was saying the Trog, and I never fucking did it. I played that for the whole time, and I never had enough dust to make the fucking stupid ass Trog. We had him big in. Right, some of this wasn't in there originally when I went to do it. Like, this is Galakron as well. Yeah, Galakron was really the one that was meant to be. Like, that should be my favorite expansion just on the basis of that alone. All these kind of things came about or became better. So, you have Mark of the Lotus, you have Power of the Wild, you have Blessing of the Ancient, you have Evolving Spores, you have the Savage Roar, but most of these are permanent. Oh, I keep calling it Pride of the Wild. It's Pride's Fury, which is such a shitty fucking card, but this is what I mean. Like, oh, look how cool it is. Now all my evasive minions become, you know, that much tankier, and they're that much harder to get rid of, and your AoE won't work on them anymore. And what else? Yeah, some of these very expensive ones, inefficient, get +2/+4 in Taunt, Drum Circle, and then you have... that's like an AoE heal for their purpose as well too. But oh yeah, some of these are pretty good though for druids. Like this plus obviously Tyrantus makes it kind of worth it to do it as druid. Give everything +2/+2. Give everything +2/+2 as well. Give your minions +2/+2. Give your minions +2/+2 in taunt for 8. Give your minions +4/+4. Yeah. See, like, why not just play Lorthamar instead? Because it wasn't out yet. But like, +4/+4 to minions in your hand, deck, and battlefield. But why not just double their stats instead, right out of the deck? At least it wouldn't do it on the hand and battlefield, but it's still like the value of that is just way too good. I like how they buffed this guy though, which I think was the case even when I played with this earlier in the year. It's not like it was recent, but yeah, look at some of this shit that I was doing. Right, Pride's Fury. This thing would be pretty good because you could sometimes get Wind Fury and just fucking take them out right then and there. But yeah, so many of these shitty, high cost, inefficient buffs that are completely garbage. Right, and you would still feel happy because, oh, I have like 2 or 3 elusive minions out there, so of course it's going to totally make it worth it. So you're trying to take something that's already annoying and hard to get rid of and make it now impossible to get rid of. So you get like a fucking 20/20 Sogoth the Slither or whatever, 25/15, whatever the discrepancy would be. I always use that as an example, but I say it would be a 10/18 Sogoth because you have obviously Lorthamar or whatever to do it. So even in Big N, I was trying to have Keleseth in here too, but I guess that wouldn't entirely work. I don't know, because there's too many things of other costs. But in Big N would be good because again, everything becomes so much harder to deal with that way. I almost have an urge to try to play that one too, but I won't. You know, we had the chance to do Druid before. Yeah, let's just get a couple games in here and we can figure out what we want to do with the rest of this. So I'm going to end up doing 2 different classes and 2 sets of gimmick decks. And both of them want to have Trogzor in there, but then I won't ever be able to make him just because I don't have the fucking dust. Like, it's not bad to keep those, but you don't really want to either. It's so fucking inefficient. Like, everything is just low value. it may be slightly hard to get rid of, but it's not really that hard to get rid of because of the simple fact that I was just sort of gushing over this whole idea and anthology of these decks, but it is very emblematic to me because, again, this was at a time where at least now I could understand you playing into some of this because, oh, it at least has some of these cop-outs like Lord Thermar or something else that would make it at least reasonably fun, right? Or it has some other structure to it. But at that time, you would have had no structure at all because it was just completely shit. And you might say, well, it was a simpler time and the decks you were going against were worse than they are now. There wasn't much power creep, whatever, but it was still really bad because there was no, you know, it wouldn't be competitive at all. And there were far fewer elusive cards and things like that. So you were really doing it just off the cuff, basically. That is kind of a waste, but it's okay. There's a fucking Diablo card back that we got there. There should, oh yeah, there's like the Fairy Dragon card back actually too that I should use for this, but I don't think I even have it. I'd have to buy it for like 500 gold, which I can't afford considering how much I want to craft shit. That was a total fucking waste. You would have been better off just pinging that shit. But that's the only value I got out of it anyway.
Get in there and fight, maggot! How extraordinary!
You could do a secret or you could do that. I don't think the secrets are going to do much for me. See, here's one where I'm just going to lose on the raw board value because somehow I can't keep up with these epic minions that they're summoning. But it's just a case where, I don't know. It's obviously just a bot anyway. But no, when they flood the board like this, it's hard for me to deal with it. I don't have any AoEs either, really. You can always tell because they make these slow movements. Like, why would a player take that long to do that? Maybe because they're playing on their fucking phone? Now, if he attacks in, which he's kind of forced to because you can't target it with anything, right? That's why this makes this so good. The likelihood of them actually triggering it is very high because they can't deal with it any other way. But no, you'd want that to be on something higher cost, again, like Sogoth or something. The Draconid. That's cool and all, but it's not going to do anything. Yeah, you should do it with that. Hit me in the face. Man, why has he got to be so inundated with bots all the time? Or lately, I've been doing a short session of Hearthstone on these days, on Sunday, and then I'll do another session like in the morning tomorrow, because I just never get a satisfactorily long enough episode. You got Divine Shield, Taunt, Lifesteal, Elusive. It might be a necessary thing, but this is also good. Taunt, Divine Shield does something when it dies. What is that? Summon 3 1/1 microbots. Not a big deal, really. We get 2 good trades out of this one. There's some good utility and versatility that you get from some of these, but it is hard to believe a game that's been out 10 years has so few cards that fit into this mechanic. It's not like it's that strong of a mechanic anyway. It can be moderate, but it's just still a board control, board trading thing. They don't have anything defensive, no healing, not even the Frostlit Jaina that we originally had, or not any AoE, not any spells really besides just the anti-spell secrets. Spellbender is especially satisfying because it gives you so much false hope, and there's so few things that it would work for, but you know it's gonna work every time because Like, whatever, you know it's gonna work for you because you have you know, you'll summon Trogzor and it'll work on that, because it wouldn't work on any of the other elusive minions. It would have to be Nerubian Unraveler or Lotheb or the Trog, right? There's nothing else you could possibly work on, so you're kind of dictating that already. Now this would be good for the healing purposes, but I'm not so sure I like this, because of the simple fact that, I don't know, that's one of the only new ones that we really got. I expected the Death Knights to get more of them, especially when they first came out, because they're all about like anti-spell, shield, and stuff. So I thought they'd have some elusive minions to sort of reflect that, but what the fuck? But yeah, attack in and just give me that health right back, you dumb clown shit. Fuck it, it's still worth it. I mean, that's more healing than I was gonna get anyway, and then you don't even finish it off. So the taunt is very important here. I'll take my chances with that, because at least we'll get one more heal out of it here. Yes, of course, who needs Frostlit Jaina when you have this shit? Because, I mean, I guess it's an elemental, so it would get lifesteal from her effect anyway, but that's besides the point. It's like, it doesn't have any sense of, I don't know. Why does it matter then? Or you'll use it to kill something else, but then it'll be so hard to kill the lifesteal and you give me too much health back. But yeah, this is my only defensive play then. The lifesteal from that shit. Yeah, you're really gonna attack into this like multiple times and give me more healing? Yeah, that was a funny title that always applies to my Hearthstone episodes. Is like, ever seen someone half asleep play Hearthstone? Oh right, it's 2023, skull dead emoji, like as if to imply that the game is so boring that everybody in 2023 would be half asleep anyway. Bro has a bot roping on fucking turn 8 with a shit fucking board, but that board is still gonna beat me. So the whole healing thing is out the window. And the reason why is because we lost the lifesteal. So again, that was the only healing we would have potentially had. And we got quite a bit of value out of it because they're a dumb clown. Wasn't planning on doing it tomorrow, but I'm just way too fucking tired, so I guess I have no choice. We'll just do maybe one more if I even have the energy. I hate when these things go on so long too. It's like, I'm obviously gonna win, so like, why are you wasting my... Well, actually, it wasn't so obvious because I was pretty fucking low and losing on the board. So the 7/7 is pretty good, but now I don't have a lot of reserves here. Just by simply flooding the board, they're sort of overwhelming me and I can't keep up with that. That is quite a lucky fucking top deck. And now we'll get 2 more copies of it anyway if either one of these die, which they have no choice but to deal with it this way. They're not going to polymorph it. You can always silence these things, but that's not a super common mechanic, honestly. Not too many decks have silence, or not too many of them in there. And so... And it's a lot of work to go through, like... But whatever, you know, if you're willing to go that far for it, that's fine. But now I should be pretty much invincible, because we can just keep doing that. So now we can play auto spell, counter spell, I mean, or spellbender. Yes, of course, the Murloc synergy, meaning I should have killed that before, just to stop that from happening. Okay, bro, hurry up, dude. They're using the sleep gambit. They're trying to make me fall asleep so they win like that. Is I'll just rope.
Your feeble magic amuses me.
But yeah, even that one guy would kind of make sense for this. The guy who counter the 4-cost 2/6 or whatever. That's like, oh, it'll make your counter your opponent's next spell or minion. Right, so that guy, Okani, I think is his name. Bro, please hurry up, man. This is so fucking boring. Like, look at this shit.
How
Come on, bro. Please don't fucking take all goddamn night. I hate that in Magic the Gathering too. Like, people will be try-harding so much. It's like, I don't care about that. Like, I'm just playing some random deck and let it come to its conclusion and just get it over with. A lot of the time I'm losing anyway because I don't care. I'm just trying to play like a deck I enjoy or something. Bro, you're gonna take all night, aren't you? Alright, hold on. We are getting pretty low when it comes to, you know, our health has been so goddamn low the whole game, so if it wasn't a bot or if it was even a slightly better, decent deck, then there'd be no real surprise. Overwatch 2, a glorified sequel, more like Overwatch 1.5. I'm so over watching stuff about it. That's why it's called Overwatch. You have 15 here. Okay, so we should definitely have 2 copies of the Stone Drake or whatever, just for the healing purposes. Even if I really, I don't know. Oh my god, you're so slow, bro. Yeah, I'll do a little mini episode of this tomorrow. And then I'll do Magic like normal, but I just wasn't expecting this to be an issue, basically. The one thing I gotta do too is I gotta check up on my PVZ thing. Because of the simple fact that as soon as the season restarts, that's gonna be actually a proper permadeath run this next upcoming season. So it could be anywhere between yesterday or Friday and next Friday, so you got to be careful with it. Okay, see you tomorrow. Okay, so here I'm just going to continue that little short episode that we did yesterday. So I've been forced, because of my casual schedule or whatever, always on Sunday is when I'm supposed to play Hearthstone, but then I somehow don't have enough time because I'm so tired, it's late at night, and that's when I like try to catch up on downloading my VODs and stuff. So by the time I finally stream, it's pretty late or I'm pretty tired, so I sort of continue it into Monday, which Monday's episode is meant to be Magic the Gathering, which I am still gonna do after this, obviously, but it's just like, it's weird to have to do that, but I always think, oh, I'm gonna have enough time and whatever. I even sort of skip the deck building. So this is one of my favorite old school gimmick decks that I would do, which is of course not really old school anymore because I've added a lot of other cards in there. You know, Galakrond wasn't even out yet because you know, Galakrond hadn't even come out, so you had to kind of squeeze it as much as you could with the anti-spell vibe. So you have Elusive as much as possible, you have Counterspell, you have Spellbender. I'm missing a few things like the Trog, like Sogoth, etc. So between Druid, because Druid has a couple good elusive minions, the 6/8 taunt thing, right, and also the, I forget what it's called, and also like a Chimera maybe? No, the Chimera is the 2-cost one though. But no, they have the 6/8, they have Tyrantus, although at the time they didn't have anything besides Tyrantus, I don't think. But yeah, they had that. So between that and the AoE buffs, I felt like, oh, that's fun to build around. So I made an anti-spell Druid deck where it's more about just getting the elusive stuff out there and then AoE buffing it as much as possible to make it virtually impossible to get rid of. And of course now Lorthamar spoils you in that regard, where you don't even have to do that because it does so much of the work buffing for you. Right before, it was more of a novelty that was the only way to do it. Or at least, you know, there weren't too many good AoE buffs, and druids had most of them, so it felt justified. Like, you're sort of milking that mechanic because it's sort of unique and the only one. And so what you have is, with mage, obviously it's built around counterspell, spellbender. There aren't really too many mage minions. There is one now, but there weren't really too many mage minions that would make it very meaningful. So it's really just the fact that, oh, you had counterspell, and that was, you know, good enough to justify it, I guess. Yeah, spellbender can be very satisfying because it's like, oh, you finally summon. Most of the stuff in here can't even be targeted by spells anyway, but now something finally, when you can finally target something, then it'll get absorbed, and this thing will still get buffed even as that happens, right? So it's a real way to rub it in their face that I find that very satisfying. Like, you know, oh, the whole game I'm only going to summon elusive stuff, and they're going to get pissed about it. And then I finally summon something that they've been saving. You know, they have to save their spells because they can't use them on anything. So now, oh, hooray, I finally have a target for my spell. And then I get cucked again because it gets countered or spellbended. Again, it's not very efficient value to play any of this, and it wasn't even efficient at the time. But it was a long time. Yeah, see, exactly. You've been sitting on that the whole game. Not that I've summoned too many things, but... And now, even if you get rid of it, I can just get more of them. Not that I really want to do that. I mean, this is probably a bot or just a shitty deck. Like, what are they doing the whole game? Like, this is not too bad. So now, even if it dies, I'll get 2 more, which that's more meaningful. I have both Splitting Image and this one. I always just call it Spitting Image, but whatever. Like, you know, you have Trogzor, and then they find, like, it's so multi-layered with how that one theme is there, right? This is what a gimmick deck is all about. You summon stuff that's hard to get rid of because you can't target it, and then you try to either buff it or reinforce it with this deck. Like, you can't get rid of it. Even if you try to do an AoE, it's not going to work, or in this case, like, it's going to cost more, right? And then even when you finally do get rid of it, well, first of all, when you finally try to attack into it, right, you get another copy, like with the Splitting Image. So that just doubles up the issue. So it's sort of like a, I don't know how to explain it, like Raphael from Yu-Gi-Oh, where he refuses to let go of his minions. Like, they're already so hard to get rid of because you can't target them, right? And then on top of that, when you finally do attack into them, because that's your only way to try to get rid of them, they create another copy. Or even when you do kill them, then I'll get 2 more copies. So it rubs it in your face so much that you just can't escape the elusive thing that we're doing here, or even some of the other effects. So every minion that isn't elusive is going to have some spell related effect to sort of punish you for doing that. Right now, again, that's not exactly the best value that we have, but and I don't have any spells in here myself except for obviously the secrets. I mean, this works pretty well for the value, but in fact that's kind of a nonsense play. Like, why not just do that? But I guess I like that the value trades in here. And again, this is not a very good deck that we're going against, as you can tell, but that shows you how shitty my decks can be with these gimmicks, is that they have some good elements to them, but they're sort of too slow. Like, alright, that's still fine. I can still use like the hero power on there. But no, yeah, this is a pretty fun card that probably never saw very much play. I don't think it was even popular at the time, right? I don't think it was ever considered good, but it does exactly what you're trying to do here, and it doesn't affect me too much because it doesn't matter, right? Like, you can't do anything with it because of the simple fact that it doesn't really seem like they're even trying to play spells very much, though. You know what, let's just do that. So we're gonna get the very sexy values that we get here. So again, those are the 3 elements. Play a lot of stuff that your opponent can't get rid of because they have to target it with something and they can't, like spells, etc. Even AoEs, you're playing around by buffing them, making them harder to kill, or countering the stuff. Then the other layer is you're trying to buff them, make them even harder to get rid of, which with this deck you wouldn't really be able to do that. And then the third layer is even when they finally do attack into them as their only recourse, you get another copy, or even when they kill something, you still get another copy. So it would trigger people in a certain way, right? Like, you don't always win games with these decks, but when you do, you kind of really piss them off or make them feel powerless because they are just, you know, you're beating that, giving like a dead horse, and they just can't escape from it. So you'll you won't always win, but when you win, you'll win your way, right? It'll be like a signature type of thing. So now we'll have these crazy values, which I unfortunately didn't get, but so we'll make the spells cost more, and we have a ton of these, so they're not exactly very good value, but you know, talk about a poor man's Loatheb. Even though it's an ongoing permanent effect, I'd rather have Dark Matter Dragon Fruit from fucking PvZ Heroes. But you know, like, Loatheb is obviously better with the 5 thing, but it's not an ongoing effect. But then again, you don't expect this thing to stay around that long anyway. Yeah, I'll just play till I lose one game, which if we're playing against bots like this, it might not even happen. But the one thing we definitely lack in this deck is defensive stuff. That lifesteal saved me yesterday, like where I was about to lose and then I had that stupid dragon with lifesteal, and that helped a lot. But considering that it only has 2 attack, it's not the greatest, but they were kind of stupid and they attacked into it a lot. Does he even hear? This is the kind of values that you get. What do you do about a 4 mana 4/10 with elusive and taunt? What can you really do about it? You have to use some very specific card. AoEs aren't going to work. You have to try to kill it on the board, force you to play like a man and not hide behind your removal, which is kind of one of the precepts of this too. But beyond that, whether you play, and first of all, even if you were to play Flames right now, it would cost 9, right? Like, the core idea is still satisfying, but it's even worse now than it would have been, even with all these. I guess there is a power creep element to that, though. Like, of course, it was bad at the time, right? Many years ago. So, of course, it's going to be worse now. But in some ways, it evens out a little bit. It's not really worse. It's just still bad because, obviously, you have the ability to basically. Now, you could easily do like no, you actually can't do a Flame Strike or anything, but you could do it in such a way that, you know, you would say, well, because you have Lorthamar and some of these newer cards in here that fit with the gimmick, it made it a little better. So it evens out against the fact that everything else in the game is better too, but not really, because the power creep just goes so far and above everything that it's just not even playable. Like, we're playing against a shitty deck like this and we're still gonna lose somehow, like, or it's still this difficult and drags out for this long. Right, that's so satisfying to have both of those, but it doesn't matter. Like, he can just get rid of it right now. He can get rid of even the 5 health one. Of course, that's totally not a bot play. Or he's testing the secret, so maybe it's actually not a bot play. So you could have easily gotten rid of the 5 health one. You have this. Again, you rely on the effects of some of these, whether it be a taunt to try to play defense, because again, I don't have any healing. I mean, that's obviously helpful, but yeah, a 6 mana 4/16 with all those other effects. Like, isn't that fucking amazing? I mean, I better do it too. I'm actually worried. I'm actually getting heated about this bronze rank 9 fucking clown with Stranglethorn Tiger in their deck. Like, this is actually the kind of shit that we got to be worried about. Because yeah, look how low they still got me with a moderate amount of board control struggle. Like, you might think, oh, board control should always be in your favor because they're not using removal on it, but if they just simply play minions that are decent value too, which this person isn't even really doing, but if they play just good moderate value minions, they're gonna outpace me anyway, because yeah, it's cute that they have elusive, but that means they're not going to be that good. They're not going to have too many other effects, except for obviously like this one. They're not going to have too many other effects, and they're also not going to I mean, this is kind of an underwhelming value. You double its stats just to get a fucking 10/6. You know, this is the satisfying put the clamp down sort of moment. Even if they were using a good deck now, they might have trouble dealing with this, right? With all the AoEs that you want, it could still be very difficult. But we get that instead, so. I mean, it could always be a free-to-play new sort of player, as if this game even has those, because the game is fucking dead, but yeah, see, now, this is what I mean. Look at the absolute cuckery of this that you would have. Wait, what?
Disappear.
Wait, I don't know. Oh, it was like, well, he's dead anyway, but now you finally, like, oh, you're frustrated. You can't play your spells. You can't kill with AoE, so now I'm going to have no choice but to attack into it. And when you do that, I get another one. So, like, you're really just pissing them the fuck off with this. This is, you know, it seems like a troll sadistic type of thing, but it has a theme to it that I like a lot. It's almost like an anime villain type deck, right? Like a Yu-Gi-Oh deck would be like that. Oh, I have all the cards in the game that do this one effect, or, you know, my deck is all about countering stuff like Lecter, who uses Jinzo and Royal Decree and stuff.
Khadgar versus
So like you're being this singular, almost NPC type duelist, but in a way that I find satisfying because you are doing so much in a, you know, very distinct way. So again, it's not about the outcome or how good it is or winning. It's about you're doing it your way, your style. Or, you know, whatever. Even if you don't like this particular gimmick, I just mean you're doing it with a way that is distinct and will be memorable. So Lorthamar is really the one thing that makes this fun, aside from, you know, the values here just don't really live up otherwise. What the fuck does that have to do with Cthulhu Shaman who's playing for this? Like, maybe I'm not aware. Oh, I guess it would maybe work if you could. But how would you even be able to afford it then? There's gonna be some Shutterwalk type shit. The problem with this is you could just use a base simple piece of removal on it. See, this is the kind of deck that would be better in a minimalistic setting. Like let me check what the twist mode is. It'll be a twist mode where, you know, you can just. It'll be a twist mode in which you can basically, you're limited to certain expansions. So even though I won't be able to use some of these newer cards too, it would be still more suited there, because again, they are so bad that if you're going against just more ordinary stuff, then it's fine. And again, a lot of these cards are pretty old that I'm using. So again, I'm missing Sogoth, I'm missing Trogzor, I'm missing a couple things. Whenever your Cthulhu gains attacker held, this does too. Pretty good fucking value. 4 mana, 8/8. Shaman has found an upgrade for the Flame Wreath fucking Faceless. So we go here. See, quite frankly, there's nothing I can do about that. I just already lose the game because of that. Like, what the fuck? Okay, dude. Miniaturize your next battle cry. Triggers 3 times. It cannot damage the enemy hero. Yeah, I have some sort of PTSD almost from this stupid ass fucking thing. The Shutterwalk, the normal Shutterwalk. Shutter block. Yeah, I shudder every time I see him because it's just such a fucking annoying thing. Shutter block again, okay. But wait, how did they change the picture like that if... Oh, but how would they do that with every single one though? Like, aren't there certain cards that miniaturize any random card in the game, like potentially? So how would they make a picture like that for every single one? Because that one looks very handcrafted for just that, but they'd be too lazy to do it otherwise. There's nothing I can do. I mean, I lose single-handedly to just that card. So maybe I'll do another one despite losing. There is no rule like with this that I have to play until I lose. But maybe I should respect that condition, but I kind of wanted a little lengthier session if I'm going to go through the trouble.
That was a mistake.
Like, it's just a mismatch. Yeah, playing this deck was a mistake because there's no fucking logic to it. Oh, he costs a little bit less too now. You know, I'll go. Let's just play one more game, I guess, just for the fuck of it. And I like to kind of follow those conditions, like, oh, I'll play till I lose one, but it doesn't matter because I can't remember even if I lost yesterday, but I didn't play that many games, so it wouldn't be kind of hard to measure it. So what we want to do is just get like an actual interactive game, which is kind of hard to do sometimes. Fun and interactive. So see, it's sometimes worth it to even keep a 4-cost card. Like, I won't, but whatever you get is probably going to be higher because there aren't that many low-cost things in here. Right, you have the fairy dragons, you have the chimera, and you have whatever. Like that's pretty much it for the 2-cost range. It's nice having a 3-cost because I think for the longest time there was no elusive 3-cost besides Bear Shark for fucking Hunter, but that doesn't count because whatever. During your turn, your hero is immune. It's kind of a cool effect. Can't be targeted or damaged. Oh, it's gonna be one of those things that you're gonna self-burn your deck out. This guy's actually pretty well statted too. The random spell effect can sometimes be bad, but I don't have very many spells, so it doesn't matter really. Like I literally just have the fucking the 2 secrets that counter spells. So this one is more true to the theme, I guess, even than the druid one, because at least the druid one will be a case where you're able to it'll be a case where you're able to what do you call it, like have too many spells, because you would have a ton of buff AoE spells in there. Or I should almost, you know, reintegrate and use that one again too to compare the two, but I won't do that because this is meant to just be a mage only month. Or maybe I'll make it 2 months, so like September, October can be the mage, and then after that we'll go into trying to play the thing. The you know, the, well, it'll be rogue, then it'll be demon hunter, then it'll be death knight, then we'll basically be done with the gimmick set, and then I don't know what I'm going to do after that. This has been fun and it's gone on for a while, so it's pretty good. So it's a decent board. I don't know what exactly they're playing at. I could care less about going face. Like I haven't even had the opportunity to do it, so it doesn't matter about this effect. Look at him buffing the shit out of this though. So yeah, let's just make this the last game. See if I can get Lor'themar value out of here. It's good against certain decks that are going to be slow paced, that you might overwhelm them in a way that is kind of good with respect to the you know, they'll think, oh, we're a priest deck and we're going to win in the long game with all our removal and shit. But then it ends up not happening because, you know, oh, you'll get like a 15-15 crazy elusive thing and they just can't deal with it, and then they just lose, right? That can certainly happen against even good decks, because they'll expect like, oh, we want the game to drag out, but they don't really know what you have in store for them. If it drags out too long, then sure, they'll be able to do that, but it's random enemy minion. Doesn't really matter too much. Now we can do the other taunt, would probably be fitting. Draw 2 cards. Everything is just very curve based too, like a mid-range curve. This is a very mid-range type of mechanic, is kind of the point. You're not going to get a win condition from it, like, oh my goodness, you're going to, you know, you're not going to say, oh, I have an elusive minion, so I just win the game. It's not that kind of deck, but it's also like you get board control if they stick around, if they get buffed, etc. If they just can't deal with them, then you could win on the board and win face-wise. So the point is that it's not a, it's obviously not aggro because it's way too slow, but it's also not control in any way because it's too, even with Lor'themar, it makes it more control-ish, but it's still about just the base value. I'm summoning something big. If you can't deal with it, then you lose. It's a little different than, oh, I'm going to deck you out. I'm going to get to the fatigue. I'm going to, you know, have some crazy Mecha'thun or something. Right, so it certainly doesn't have all that, but it's still satisfying with the raw values that you get. So if I get Lor'themar now, that would be very fun. I don't really like this Khadgar's voice. His picture is kind of cool, I guess, but I wish I had one of the Kel'Thuzad ones or something. There are some pretty cool, let's just do that for defensive purposes, I guess. Well, I don't really need to. Let's go with both of those, so even if they do cast a spell, everything would be fine. So they can easily AoE this shit out of here, which would be fine. You know, if you get like a Loatheb play or something like that, it can really put the clam down. Lor'themar. But no, I do thoroughly enjoy this mechanic. Maybe I'll do a couple more even. Let's kind of milk this one a bit. I'll go to like 11. And then I'll do... Okay. You know, that's still fine because you had to expect it. But... So it's not like you couldn't have a piece of removal for this, but it'll be at least a little more expensive, which is fine, I guess. Or again, minion effects aren't going to be negated by this in any way, nor are silence, obviously, is going to be a thing. Oh, that could be very dangerous because I don't know what I can do about that. We're not going to beat you on the raw value. We just have to make it a face race. Why the fuck can't I just get Lorthamar out here? Like, what the fuck, bro? This is a good card to at least muck it up and slow it down, though. Yeah, nice. Wait, what? Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. You have to pay extra for it, and you try to target this, but you realize, oh, I'm getting cucked by Elusive. Then you target this, but then you realize I'm getting cucked by Spellbender. Then you realize you got to do it again, at all at a discount rate or at an increased rate of cost, right? Like, you're just completely pissing them off. And we can get rid of this shit here. Right, and then an AoE would still fuck me over, but it's quite possible you're not going to have another one in before another Twisting Nether, which might actually fucking ruin me, but... They changed the cost and, effects of some of these things so much, like, oh, it destroys locations too, like... I appreciate that they're doing that, because, like, oh, it's better than... Yeah, look at that, you have to pay 5 for that shit. We did get the satisfying effect out of this, right? So at least we get to see, yeah, that kind of shit does actually work, which is unfortunate, but whatever. It'd be too strong otherwise. Like, imagine losing to that too. Not that their deck really seemed all that good, but Jaraxxus lost to this. I don't know if I want to do more actually or not. I enjoy it, but I feel like I don't want to cut into my Magic. I'll do basically 11 to 12, so we'll do a couple more of these, I guess. But yeah, like, that was really satisfying. Like, again, they just couldn't deal with it. They used Twisting Nether, but they still couldn't keep up with it. But the way that they can beat me easily is if they play sort of aggro or fast-paced on the board, with just good value stuff. If they wait and sit back and play for some sort of win condition, then I can beat them because I'll build up my board and I'll maybe buff stuff up. I'm not happy with how rarely I'm getting Lorthamar, though. I need him to really show this off. So we want, we'll keep that because we have the coin as well, even though it's kind of fucked. We have 4 2-cost cards in here, so I wouldn't think it'd be that hard to figure out. So what you can do is obviously coin it out on turn 3.
My pain doesn't come.
This is where you can sometimes get cocked, but I'm gonna have to do that again. Just waste 2 turns pinging something. Like, what's the point? I don't really know what Death Knights are trying to do these days, but they're kind of a shittily designed class, to be honest with you, with respect to the stupid ass thing of all the runes and the insular mechanic. Again, do that for every class then. Make them have 3 specs and they have to interact like, Frost Rune, whatever, Frost, Blood, Unholy Rune. You could do the same thing as like, oh, you got to be Holy Priest, Discipline Priest, and Shadow Priest, so you can only have certain number of cards that interact with each other within those specs. Like, that's such a limiting, restrictive thing in a game that's already so restrictive as far as the fucking stupid ass thing, the having so many different classes anyway, compared to Magic having 5 classes, basically colors, and they can be turned into hybrids a lot easier. This game doesn't have hybrid decks. It has double the colors basically of Magic, which is a bad thing, arguably. And then it also wants to do this rune system. Like, it's such a bad idea. Yeah, the one thing we'll never see is that stupid ass monk class. You were already gonna lose because, yeah, maybe I shouldn't care about the win-loss thing, because you're just gonna have some games where you just don't have a chance, and it's just not fun. Because, oh yeah, I keep wanting to check what the twist mode even is. It's very fun if I can play this somehow in the twist mode, but I think it's unlikely. Like, oh, if you don't have any legendaries in your deck, so I could just make sure that happens, but I don't have the ability to whatever. Like, I'm missing some of the key ones that you would want. But yeah, see, this, you're just gonna get fucked and there's nothing you can do. Hello, I want to say I play PvZ Heroes. I don't understand Hearthstone. You know, it's kind of in the same class of more sort of fast-paced, simpler card games, although I guess maybe not in its current state, but basically the kind of decks I'm using right now are exactly like that. They're just sort of gimmicks and not really, you know, super meta or anything like that. Yeah, it actually has fewer cards in your deck than PvZ Hero, so that means it must be more simple because, you know, this has a 30 card deck limit, that has a 40 card deck limit, which is actually kind of surprising. Okay, now we just get kind of screwed. Yeah, I do have to remember to check that if the season reset, because now I'm going to have to try to play that a lot, which I feel like I'm just not going to have enough time to do it, but this is my 1 month rank 50 or bust kind of challenge, so I have to do it. I remember that one game a rogue got this against me, like just, I was getting clowned at a low rank with all these kind of super crazy openings that are just pure dumb luck too. Yeah, this is more in the line with that kind of thing. Now Magic the Gathering takes it to a whole nother level where, you know, that game just has way too many cards and is just like way too over the top. We're almost, oh, I want to keep looking at the twist mode. I keep forgetting. I just want to see what it is. It's possible it could align with me sort of, you know, trying this out in there, like somehow make an elusive deck that's a bit more restricted.
Let the games begin. Behold the magic of death.
Alright, this isn't too bad. In fact, I'll even keep Spellbender. Cannot do that. You can't keep the fucking hand that you have. No, I think I tried to click on my portrait though. Khadgar versus Medivh, which of course Khadgar is a fucking wannabe Medivh basically. But yeah, like that Warcraft Rumble is pretty much a copy of Clash of Clans, so Blizzard always just copies everything, but sometimes they usually make it better, or at least very good, but the problem ends up being that, you know, people always try to diminish it, like, oh WoW copied EverQuest, but it was really good in its own right, or, you know, Hearthstone obviously copied Magic, supposedly, you know, is what people always say, and then, I mean, I can certainly see the similarity, and then, you know, Overwatch copies TF2, although that one I kind of disagree with. Yes, it has some similarities, but it takes it in totally its own direction. Like, when in TF2 do you have a guy with a fucking, like, Reinhardt and all this kind of other very specific mechanics, you know, a chick going around in a mech like Diva? What the fuck does that have to do with TF2? That's just kind of in its own universe, right? Where it's just completely different, so it might take the base gameplay style, but I don't think it's really right to call that a direct copy. The way that these other games are at least much more in line. What else? Like Heroes of the Storm, they try to copy League, which is kind of ironic because the origin of League is obviously from a Blizzard game itself, Warcraft 3, where, you know, they'll put some clause in the future that if you make a mod, we own the rights to it. You can't make your own game out of it, which is kind of hard to really justify that, but you know, it's so stupid that they failed to make their own even remotely on par with that. So this is fine. The Flamewalker is one of the things that really is unfair here because they don't have to target my stuff, but they can still deal with it, you know, in a broader sense. Is kind of annoying. I really am gonna have to stop playing chess this month though if I'm gonna try to do that PvZ Heroes thing, because I don't know, I won't be able to fit both in. I'm actually genuinely worried about that challenge just because of how casual I am and how little time I have to do stuff. I never thought that would be a problem. I did it with Hearthstone just 2 years ago, which that was surprisingly not that time consuming until like the very end, where it got a bit repetitious, but wow, what? It's a bit repetitious, like around Diamond and stuff, but that was pretty good because I just kind of did it on a whim. The stupid ass Flamewalker, man. Yeah, once we're done with that challenge, whether I succeed or fail, I'll probably do either Duelist 2, or I was thinking of opening it up to some other format. But maybe I said I'll do that on Thursday. Like, Thursday, Throwback Thursday will go into something else, like an actual permadeath run of a game that I haven't played, or what, you know, whatever, just an ongoing recurring thing every week. So like, oh, I'll play a first playthrough permadeath of some game, some new game or whatever, and or anything, just some random game. And so what do you call it? Man, this is really getting annoying. So that could be after Throwback Thursday, and then after obviously PvZ Heroes, it could be Duelist 2. I've been saying that for a while, so I probably should honor it, but I feel like I have enough card games going on already. I mean, I guess it would just be the two, Hearthstone and Magic, and I don't know what's gonna happen with Hearthstone, actually. Like, once I'm done with this gimmick series, I could almost do it all over again because of how much I like these gimmicks, or whatever, but I don't really feel like replacing this as a slot. And then Magic, I'm gonna probably replace with Magic Online, regardless, or that one I might leave open. Like, once the next expansion comes out, I'll do sort of a green to mythic challenge, similar to what we're doing in PvZ Heroes. Like, so if I succeed at that, I can keep playing, or if I fail, I have to delete my collection and then play PvZ, or not PvZ, play Magic Online, which I kind of want to do anyway, but it'll be a question of whether I get to keep my account, basically, and all the cards I've gotten over these last 2 years, so that's going to be a pretty high standard too. Although with that, I can kind of craft and do whatever I want. There's no other restriction, but okay, this is a pretty great starting hand. And of course, against the Mage is one of the better matchups you could have. I feel like a Priest would just be really good because, I don't know, they're going to be very slow paced and just let me do whatever I want until it's too late for them. Whoops, I actually misclicked that. Fuck, now I'm not going to have a good turn 3 play, but it might not have mattered too much anyway, but alright, so let's play this one, get to bronze rank 5, and then I'll basically then I'll play Magic, obviously. I'm playing anti-Magic, and then I'll actually play Magic. But even there, I tend to like countering stuff, so whether it be, surprisingly, I like blue for that reason alone, or even, what is the other thing? Just, you know, black, I kind of like its ability to sort of cuck your ability to play stuff at times. Okay, so we have this. I mean, everything's going to be pretty much on curve. So if I can just get to the point where I play this, I'll be very happy to... yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to play that either, but that's pretty good. You know, 2 5/6s with Taunt and Elusive for only 8 is not a bad value. I think I only have one of those cards in there, though. Most of the Elusive stuff I have doubles, which I can obviously cut that down for Sogoth and... what am I missing? Sogoth and one other thing. What is it? What is it? Oh yeah, Trog Zora obviously is very fun. I had this imaginary interaction that I swear I thought happened before, where again, something would get counterspelled. It must be Spellbender, because the spell still goes off then. So you'll hit it with a fireball, but then it'll get absorbed by Spellbender, and then you'll get a Trog still, and the Trog will get buffed at the same time that just got summoned, which I don't think that's really accurate, but... Alright, this turn is kind of fucked up. We just have to make sure that we have to make sure that we let them trade in, basically. So Nerubian Unraveler will be fine. Yeah, what an amazing play, even though you're meant to do that on like a taunt that has much more health and whatever, better value, but it can't be helped. I had nothing to play that turn. Once I get Lorthmar out there, I'm pretty happy, but I don't know if I will be able to. Fuck. You don't have any way to deal with these sort of things. Typical of a lot of my decks where I just don't have removal in them. Yeah, I love how I'm always hard stuck at bronze to silver because I just don't play long enough with these, or they're just not good enough anyway. Which is kind of fitting, but the only sad part is if you are playing bots, that just sort of takes the fun out of it, even though sometimes it can be pretty epic and competitive even then. But, you know, because of how shitty these decks actually are. Okay, now they're just going to kind of run away with it. Right, this is the sort of telling moment where if I could just survive a little bit longer, I'd be fine. You're almost inclined that you wouldn't play Lorthamar and you'd want to play like this, but I'll just go for it in case I get something really good. Like if I get the little rush one. But no, by all accounts, Galakron should be my favorite expansion in the history of the game, just because of how many elusive minions it gave you. Pretty much the bulk of them in the game. Right, because of how few there still are, surprisingly. And there's not a lot of class ones. I guess Warrior has one, Hunter has one, but literally just like one. What the fuck is this, dude? This is what you call meta value over here. Like, just... It's not even a contest. It's just like a foregone conclusion that you have no fucking chance. Okay, fine. I'll do even one more, even though I wasn't planning on it. I'm addicted to this thing now. But again, it's such a duality. Like, when you lose, you have no chance. So it's pointless to even bother playing. And when you win, it's very satisfying, or at least you get to see the mechanic play out. Even if you don't win, it's more, you know, at least it drags the game out a little bit. That was just completely one-sided. Like, what's even the point? Or you're just outvaluing me with better cards, so you're so skilled and so amazing.
Khadgar versus Jaina.
You asked for it.
Behold the
I
magic.
can't believe how many stupid cosmetics I've bought, though, in the last couple years. Okay, this is the last game for sure, though. And I do like these mage matchups, at least, for, you know, the base counterspell ability, but... Yeah, hexproof is just so much better than elusive, though, for the sake that you can obviously target your own stuff very easily there, whereas here you have to go kind of out of your way, whether it be with the AoE buffs or some other way to, I don't know, some other way to make it like, oh, they're elusive only on your opponent's turn. The ways to punish it really are if you have some really good AoEs, which as time goes on that ends up being less and less possible. And number two is if you actually imagine like I play this 1 hour a week basically, and I spend half the time just playing against bots. It's pretty sad. You might think, oh, we'll just get to silver first, but I mean that ends up constituting the whole fucking month, even assuming, you know, that there aren't bots there. Like, what is this deck that I'm going against? But yeah, the point is that you can beat it with AoE or you can beat it with board control if you have decent stuff on the board, which this so far doesn't seem to be the case. And that's not going to be a very good spell even if they do it. I mean, you could easily play around that. Like, they'll just, you know, do a 1-cost spell or a coin, so it takes away the whole luster of, oh, you know, this whole deck exists because of that card. Because, oh, why would I do it as a mage? Just because of that. Like... There's not too many other good reasons. I like what I did with splitting image and duplicate, because that kind of plays into it too. That you're just going to really squeeze the elusive minions for all they're worth and make them even harder and more annoying to get rid of. But this is just like a clown bot game over here, so it's not very satisfying either way. Or frankly, even if it's not, it's like... You know, what the fuck am I supposed to make of the quality of their deck? Which again, they still have a good chance though. If the curve doesn't, it seems like 5 cost is really where we're missing something. But you have Lotheb, and it's not like one of those things. Oh, I got to save Lotheb for the perfect time. I could just do it like, you know, I'll just do it as a curve play because I just have to. So yeah, other than Lotheb, I don't know if I even have any 5-cost cards in here. Because there aren't really any elusive minions that cost 5, and there aren't really any other cards that fit, so he might be the only one. So it would have been that 5 is always a weak spot, right, but also 3 was weak, so now we finally have that elusive 3 cost that we got, right, that we've been using here, the 2-4. Once again, always unable to process the names of anything. So see, they still have a chance. Look how epic and intense this game is, regardless of anything else. We should almost save that till... Whoops. And I keep misclicking stuff. I misclicked the coin, too. I should have saved that till this is revealed, but maybe it's okay. So they can't use a spell, you know, if I built up a good board and then they're forced to AoE, that's the perfect time to do it because they don't have enough mana then to pick and choose. Right, they'll have to just try to flame strike and they'll get fucked. Yeah, there's such a amazing fan base for PvZ Heroes. It's kind of hard to believe, but it might be one of those things that like people have sort of low standards because like, oh, that might be the only card game they played, or like it's so casual or whatever. But it still doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just, oh yeah, I'm pretty low on health, so I probably should do that. But having multiple things out there is more important. But yeah, I mean, there's so many good card games out there. It's just like, a lot of them are unapproachable because they're so bloated with cards. Like even this game that I'm so familiar with, I don't really care about the new stuff and I don't want to keep up with it and I don't want to, you know, worry about that. Like with Yu-Gi-Oh, with synchro summoning, it just gets sort of annoying after a while, even if you are experienced in the game. But especially for newcomers, like why would you want to care about that? That's how I am with Magic. It's like, why do I care about the new expansion and the new mechanic? I still haven't enjoyed the old mechanics because I'm so new to the game that, you know, it's all fresh to me. So this is really the matchup that we got to end off on. The fucking Stranglethorn Tiger shit. So the taunts are pretty important there, and they won't even be able to do some big AoE, and they don't have too many cards, so we're gonna end this as we began, beating up on a fucking shitty bot. Yeah, that could be fun, is actually doing like permadeath runs again, and if, you know, even if it's in like a weekly basis sense, I'm fine with doing that. But that would be, now the tide is gonna turn, but we never get Lorthamar when I fucking need him. This is the perfect time. You can just kind of flex it, and I mean, everything you have is pretty much a minion anyway, so it's not like it'll be hard to benefit from that right away. Just the next turn, you're gonna likely get something.
Extraordinary.
You might think, oh, that's a waste, but they're kind of seeing what my theme is, so they realize their AI has adapted, and they know that their spells are going to be useless on my minions anyway. But no, those are such low-value plays in this day and age, of just like, you know, obviously... They're low value plays to the extent that you have, you know, just playing a 3-cost secret for 3, like with no other bonus effect or other synergy or way to reduce the cost. Like that's just such a shitty thing to do that nobody would ever actually do. Okay, bro, hurry up. Stupid ass fucking bots ruin the game. I'd rather wait in a queue time a little bit longer for a game that still seems relatively popular and active, but I almost should have just played the thing first, counterspell first. Yeah, they can try to do like flame strike here, which would be pretty much fine, right? Like it wouldn't kill this anyway, even if it didn't have divine shield. Yeah, this game is what PvZ Heroes could have been if they actually kept up with the, you know, development, maybe. But yeah, this game has had a lot of great moments to it, certainly. I just think it's sad that, well, actually, you can't be too surprised that when a game lasts this long, for better or for worse, that ends up happening. It's like, you know, you're gonna have power creep, you're gonna have blow, you're gonna have just too many cards that do sort of the same thing, and some cards becoming irrelevant and just whatever. It sort of becomes contrived after a while. The incentive becomes to pump out more cards than actually to either balance the game or whatever, make it fun, right? We got to do the next expansion every 4 months. It's just, that's part of the business model, so that's it. Like, they just have to do it. See, now I won't even get to enjoy Lorthamar because you're fucking already dead.
I got you, friend.
I don't actually even have lethal.
Now watch as I
Let's see if that'll do something for me. Use an enemy minion, shuffle it into your deck. Okay, we'll set up for lethal next turn. I'm a little bit worried about my health. They'll always assume it's Ice Block, but it's obviously fucking not. Unless I get it from some random spell, which I don't see how I even could. After you cast a spell, cast a random spell, it costs 1 more. Which again, it's always gonna... No, I guess it's always gonna be 4, but it won't be because of this, obviously, right? It'll count. Yeah, it was in Tomb because this counts as a 5 cost, obviously. The same way that I would use it with Alana, like... Oh, I have this effect, so now something that would normally cost 3 costs 5, and it counts towards the Alana counter of summoning the dragons, which is a weird way to do it, but I also had some stuff in there that would be straight up, you know, that high cost anyway, like Flame Strike and stuff. So now we have the simple ability to, alright, we got to bronze rank 5, because that's really an accomplishment.